Hello and welcome to the second video in this training series for Back to Church Sunday. I'm Jason Day, the Executive Director of National Back to Church Sunday Movement. And in this video, we're going to be focusing on preparing to celebrate Back to Church Sunday at your church. So we're going to be looking at all of the things that you're going to want to be involved in and engaged in whenever you're setting up and preparing to share your Back to Church Sunday celebration with your community. Now, the very first thing, the most foundational thing is prayer. Prayer is the absolute foundation for your Back to Church Sunday celebration. You do not want to overlook this vital step. Remember, God's heart breaks for the people in your area that do not know Jesus. Pray that your church will be aligned with God's heart and aligned with God's mission in your community. Ask God to direct and to inspire your church as you prepare for Back to Church Sunday. Pray that He will move in the lives of your people and also that He would move in your community, that you can welcome many to your church and introduce them to Jesus. Now, in a few moments, I am going to share some more defined and practical ideas when it comes to prayer, but I just wanted to let you guys know that prayer is the absolute foundation. So you want to be praying for this entire celebration, this entire process, this entire ministry campaign for your church. So prayer is that foundation, and what I recommend that you do next is that you want to take time to watch all of the videos in this particular series. This will give you a solid overview of the why, the what, and the how of Back to Church Sunday. A good understanding of the available resources is really going to help you communicate with your leaders and really plan your Back to Church Sunday celebration. So make sure you watch all the videos in this particular training series so you have a good understanding. Once you have this grasp of Back to Church Sunday and you feel comfortable with it, it's time to really cast the vision. And to cast the vision, before you launch into that planning phase, you're going to want to meet with your leadership team. You're going to want to share the vision of Back to Church Sunday and how it will empower your church and energize your church and ultimately impact your community with the gospel. Consider showing the first video in this training series with all of your leaders, and then discuss how you sense God is leading your church with Back to Church Sunday. You want to get your leaders all in. This is very important, to get all of your leaders to understand that Back to Church Sunday is really a church-wide experience. All ages and stages of life can be involved in Back to Church Sunday. You're focusing your entire church in on this special celebration. This means that you need to engage your leaders. So as you've cast the vision, as you've helped them to understand the heart behind Back to Church Sunday, you really want to engage your leaders and ask your ministry leaders for their help and for their support. You're going to need your leadership from your children's ministries, your youth ministries, your worship ministries, your hospitality ministries, all the various leaders, whether they're on staff or key volunteers. You're going to want all of them to, again, be a part of this celebration. One of the important things you're going to want to do as you're sharing with your ministry leaders, as you're meeting with them, is you want to be asking them to share the ideas that God is placing on their heart about how your church can best celebrate Back to Church Sunday and really reach your community. Because God is going to be speaking to different people on your ministry team, and you want to be inviting those conversations and those ideas. You also want to ask the ministry leaders what needs they might see that they will have in their ministry area as you prepare to celebrate Back to Church Sunday. For example, in your children's ministry area, maybe you need to clean the carpets in the nursery or paint the walls or freshen up your nursery area. You want your leaders to be thinking about what it's going to be like to welcome new families and new individuals into your church. Be thinking about how they will be able to mobilize different people in your church in their areas of ministry to invite people and to have these spiritual conversations. So be listening to your leaders, listen to their ideas, listen for their needs, so that you can make this really a meaningful event for your entire church and your community. You want to keep communication open to help all of your ministries work together in supporting the overall goals of Back to Church Sunday. So you've taken time to pray, you've cast a vision with your leaders, you've got them bought in, you're engaging your leaders, you're listening to them. Next, you want to come together and develop your game plan. So you need to really take time to strategize and prayerfully consider, how are you going to celebrate Back to Church Sunday? Because Back to Church Sunday is more than just that third Sunday in September. Back to Church Sunday is what is leading up to that celebration and what comes out of that celebration. And that all is incredibly important. So when you take time to use the information from these training videos and any other resources that you get to really create a detailed plan, it is going to help you be more effective in celebrating Back to Church Sunday. In this plan, you're going to want to create a schedule that includes action steps and deadlines that you're going to want to meet. It's going to have to help people understand who owns what project and who has what responsibilities. And this plan, as it's pulled together, is going to help your entire ministry team and your entire church as you are mobilizing one another to reach your community, to make these invitations to your Back to Church Sunday celebration, and to reach people for Christ. We really recommend that you order the Back to Church Sunday kit. Our team spends a lot of time doing a lot of the heavy lifting for your church. It includes videos and graphics and sermons and many additional tools to really help your celebration be as effective as possible. And so within that kit, there are lots of ideas and lots of planning guides that can help you as you're putting together this game plan for your church. And then you want to share your finalized game plan with your ministry leaders, with your key volunteers. Of course, they've all shared and they've helped provide input into this plan. And you want to make sure that everyone is on the same page as you embark on this awesome journey toward Back to Church Sunday. Next, you're going to want to challenge your church. And this is really the heartbeat of Back to Church Sunday. This is that one thing that answers those two questions we talked about in the first video. How do we help our people grow in their faith? And how do we reach people in our community for Christ? These two things come together with this challenge to your church. Now is the time for you to put this mission-focused challenge in front of your people. And that is to challenge them to be thinking and praying about who God is placing on their heart that they would invite to your Back to Church Sunday celebration. You see, the goal is for everyone to invite at least one person to your church for Back to Church Sunday. So you want to let everyone know that everyone is involved. And again, this is a big key to Back to Church Sunday. You create that expectation that everyone is involved, that God is going to move in incredible ways, and that every person in your church is going to take action in some way and make that invitation to some person. So you want to get that challenge in front of your church. Now, as I mentioned earlier, here's where those prayer ideas come in, right? You want to invite every age group ministry to begin praying for a great harvest as you celebrate Back to Church Sunday. So you want to think about how your children's ministry and your youth ministries, how your small groups can be involved in spending focused prayer time on this every time they gather. So you want them to be praying about Back to Church Sunday, praying about who is God putting on their heart, who are they inviting, those conversations that they're going to have. And here are three key ways that you can be praying. First, you'll be praying for your people, right? So in the weeks before your Back to Church Sunday celebration, you're challenging your people to ask God. I would recommend ask God for the names of 5 people that he would put on their heart that they can invite to church. Now, you want to remind your people to be praying for opportunities to invite the people that God has put on their heart. You want to continue to keep this in front of your people. Publicly pray that God will bless everyone with a boldness, right, to enter into these conversations with the courage as they invite these 5 people to your Back to Church Sunday celebration. You want to keep this in front of your people regularly as you move closer to Back to Church Sunday. So praying for your people, praying about the people that God has placed on their heart. Keep that in front of your people. Make that a priority in your times of prayer. A second is that you want to pray for the pastor and the ministry leaders of your church. You want to have people in your church praying for the pastor who's going to be preaching at your Back to Church Sunday celebration, right? And for all of the ministry leaders who might be sharing with other age groups, and ministry leaders who are going to be involved in welcoming new people into your church. You want to pray that the gospel on that Sunday will be communicated clearly. You want to pray for encouragement for those pastors, ministry leaders, and those key volunteers who are going to be ministering on that day. Ask God to provide focus, protection, and courage for this important celebration in the life of your church. You're going to pray that your ministry volunteers are going to be ready to welcome newcomers with the grace and with the joy of Jesus. So be praying for your pastor, praying for your ministry leaders, praying for your volunteers. And then the third thing I encourage you to pray for is pray for your guests. Pray for those who are invited to Back to Church Sunday. Pray that they would be open to that invitation, that they would be willing to attend, even if perhaps they've had bad church experiences in the past. God can do amazing things in people's lives, and we've seen this. And so be praying with great boldness for those people in your community as they're being invited. Pray that God would already be at work in their hearts and in their lives, and give them that openness to come to your church. Earnestly seek God on behalf of those who will be hearing the gospel message of Jesus. Praying that God would again open their minds and their hearts, because many of them may be hearing the gospel for the very first time during your Back to Church Sunday celebration. Ask that their minds, their hearts would be open, they would recognize their need for Jesus, and they would follow him with their lives. So prayer is a foundation. Be praying for the entire celebration, praying for your people as they're mobilized with boldness to invite people to church. Pray for your pastor, your ministry leaders, your key volunteers, and then pray for the people in your community as they're being invited to church. And the next thing that you want to do is you want to really get the tools gathered together that you need. You need to order any additional resources that you want to really use to promote and host your Back to Church Sunday celebration. I mentioned the church kit earlier. Again, every year our team prayerfully develops a new theme for that year, and we create a complete kit that provides all that you need to host a powerful Back to Church Sunday celebration. Now, there are plenty of other resources, and I'll talk more about those in the next video in this training series, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Once you've got all the tools that you need, you want to think about what is next. And this is a very important thing to consider. And when I say thinking about what is next, you want to be thinking about what happens beyond your Back to Church Sunday celebration. As you are planning on welcoming a number of new people to your church, you want to think about what is next for them. What is their next step? What can you invite them back to experience? How can you connect with them beyond this one Sunday? So you want to take time now. You don't want to wait until Back to Church Sunday celebration, that particular Sunday, to come up with what's next. You want to be thinking in advance of what is their next step. Take that time now to determine how to best encourage those people who walk through your doors, those people who might join your church for this celebration, to connect them more deeply. You need to have a next step for every single guest who walks into your church so you can begin to build deeper relationships with them and continue to point them to Jesus. Another thing as you're planning and preparing for Back to Church Sunday is to consider partnering with others in your community. An individual church reaching out to the community can have a transformational and lasting impact. Now, imagine what it would be like if multiple churches in your community all came together to celebrate Back to Church Sunday. As those churches come together, as those churches work and pray for your city, as all those churches together mobilize their people to make those invitations, you see, Back to Church Sunday is an ideal opportunity to join with the broader Christian community in your area, to join with other churches, lock arms with them to accomplish something greater than your church or any individual church can do on their own. It's a beautiful way for churches and ministry leaders throughout your neighborhood, throughout your city, to really gather together with one mission and one focus in mind. So reach out to other churches in your neighborhood, in your city, begin collaborating with them, begin thinking and praying through how you can invite your entire city to church as all the churches celebrate Back to Church Sunday together. Now, this is an exciting time for your church. There are many ways, as you can see, to engage everyone as you pray and prepare to celebrate Back to Church Sunday.